shake off Israeli occupation and strike at the Jewish state.
I've buried many friends who have been murdered by Arabs.
David Haivri, a West Bank settler, believes the proper response is revenge.
There's a concept of God's revenge being a sign of justice.
Haivri is a disciple of Rabbi Meir Kahane, the right-wing extremist who referred to Arabs as dogs.
If you ask me if I'm an extremist, I wouldn't think so. I think that I'm in the middle of the line, a regular, simple Jew.
Like Kahane, Haivri believes the Arabs should either leave the West Bank and Israel or be expelled.
As long as they're here, there's a threat to the settlement movement.
Israel banned Kahane's political movement as a terrorist organization after one of his followers murdered at least 29 Muslim worshippers in Hebron. Kahane himself was later gunned down in New York by a Muslim extremist. But his heated mix of right-wing politics and religious fundamentalism lived on. During the Second Intifada, as Israeli buses, restaurants and markets were being attacked, a poll showed 25% of Israelis saying Meir Kahane could be a good leader for the Jewish people. The most militant were talking revenge.
I would say that maybe a few hundreds would make a terror act. Very small number. It doesn't mean that it's easy to get them.
This is the West Bank settlement of Bat Ain. Here, a small group of Jews wants to re-establish the biblical kingdom of David, a monarchy built on religious law.
A kingdom would be unlike this rotten democracy. A king would be loyal to one thing, to what God tells him, to what is written in the Torah.
The Bat Ain group believed in revenge against Palestinians, which they described to an Israeli filmmaker.
If they damaged an orchard, you damaged 10. 2 eyes for an eye, teeth for a tooth.
And then they escalated.
From a desire to scare the Arabs off, you get to attempted murder. All the way. Big time.
To make a big-time statement, they chose this target, a Palestinian girls' school in East Jerusalem.
One brings the car, one brings the explosives, one takes care of the clock, one lays the bomb, and that's how it works.
They built a bomb in this trailer with propane tanks, barrels of gasoline, homemade shrapnel, and stolen military explosives to set it off. The crude timer was set for 7:30 a.m., when children would just be arriving for class.
Whoever gets hurt, gets hurt.
Jewish terror to match Palestinian terror.
Just like they do.
Late one spring night in 2002, the men from Bat Ain drove the trailer to East Jerusalem.
We got there about 3 a.m. and then it got complicated because that night a police car happened to be in the area.
They told the police they were just passing through and then continued on to their true destination, the Palestinian school.
After we unhitched the wagon, we were going to puncture a tire so it wouldn't look suspicious, but we forgot. With all the pressure, we completely forgot. And after we'd driven about 200 yards, I told Yarden, hey, we forgot to puncture the tire. So he drove back.
The police, watching from a distance, arrested them. Interrogators asked why they did it. The answer, it was God's will.
There's no way to explain it. I feel as if God grabbed me by the ears.
In court, the men claimed the bomb was just to scare Palestinians, that it was not intended to explode. But they were found guilty of attempted murder and sent to prison for as long as 15 years. Mainstream settlers like Amanpour condemn them.
Religious belief as a fuel for violence is wrong.
But David Haivri does not condemn them.
No, I made no judgment. In my opinion, war is an ugly thing.
When we come back, God's Jewish warriors go to war against fellow Jews. The Second Intifada paralyzed the peace process. So in December 2003, Prime Minister Ariel Sharon announced a radical new policy. In the absence of negotiations, he said Israel would unilaterally wall off the Jewish settlements it intended to keep and shut down the others, returning that land to the Palestinians.
The disengagement plan will reduce friction between us and the Palestinians.
Many settlers were appalled that their ally, the godfather of the settlements, would abandon what they had worked so hard to build.
I felt it's worse than our enemies. He was like the hand of the terrorists to do their ideologies. It was terrible.
Phase 1 of the plan, Gaza. The government offered the Gaza settlers financial compensation, and most left without incident.
There were many people in the settlement movement who saw this as a disgrace, who were angry and disappointed with their own leaders for not mounting a more serious resistance.
There were holdouts in Gaza. They would be physically evicted. Some settlers begged Israeli soldiers not to do it.
He has to be a Jewish person first and then a soldier. It's not moral to take from someone his house.
In August 2005, the hard-line Gaza settlers made their stand. Jewish settlers versus Jewish soldiers. The final confrontation was ugly, but within hours, it was over. 9,000 settlers were now gone, but another confrontation over 9 houses was in the making. It would be in the tiny community of Amona, atop a windy hill on the occupied West Bank. For religious settlers like Edith Levinger, living here is spiritual.
I walk around here with my children and tell them this is the hill that Abraham climbed. This is where Jacob had his dream. It's not something that was once upon a time. It's alive and now.
Amona was founded